It's actually, so my name is Kenko. There are many folks in here who I have sat with before. There are many faces that I've seen online or heard in open Sozan, but never actually met in person. And there are also some people who I haven't met yet. So a warm welcome to all of us. You may have noticed that originally the schedule said that somebody else was going to give the talk. And the reality of the world is that the plans do not always come the way we planned. Yeah. So Joan Sensei is ill. So Touré reached out and said, "You're here. Maybe you could say something." It was very interesting. The first thought was, well, I'm still packing, and then I'm getting in the car, and then I'll be in the train and on the travel most of the time, and actually getting here. How's that going to work? And then I figured, well, the other piece about it is in the last interview that I had, the teacher said, "Oh, you should give a talk about this one." So it's like, okay, it looks like the universe says, this is the time. This is the time and this is the place. And there was also something that goes back in my history with Zen. Actually, in a way, the encounter that brought me to Zen is also related to a situation like this. So I was a student back in Germany, and I had decided to not just take my math and physics classes, but also take something interesting, something out of the ordinary. And there was a series of talks on, I forget exactly how to translate it, but something like foundations of nonviolence. And it was about mostly around Gandhi's life and his background and his learning and what brought him in his life to the path that he took in India. And it was a wonderful series of lectures. And at some point there was a guest speaker, and the guest speaker was Prabhaza Dharma Roshi, who was a teacher who had studied with Sasaki Roshi in Los Angeles, who had been instrumental in getting their centers out there up and running, and had arranged with there is a market in Los Angeles for the Zen center to sort of receive whatever was left over after the market had happened, as a way of receiving the gifts. So she was a teacher in the US, out on the West Coast, and she was visiting. She was from Germany originally, and she was in town to lead a session for her community in Europe. And the professor who was teaching the class knew of her, and said, why don't you come and talk to my class? So this is the theme. And I remember, she came in. She was sort of sitting on the side. She had these, long, beautiful silk robes. The professor introduced her, and then they sort of set up a chair, like a little bit like this, a little bit raised up, for her to sit down and give a talk. And as she's getting up there, she's getting settled, she's arranging her robes, just so she's clearly taking all the time she needs to take to arrive in that chair. And I think, oh my God, she has no notes, you know? And I was feeling sort of, it's like a transferred anxiety that I had about her being in this position and, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I have to be here, and I don't know if this turns out terrible, it will be very, so, you know, this is, and it was clear in this moment that this was really present for me, and this was clearly not present for her. So I had a moment of thinking, oh, this is what life could be like. So here I am. I did bring 1 page of notes. And it was really that encounter that sort of made me curious about Zen. So my wholehearted gratitude to her. And it's also wonderful, and it feels very touching to be in this space with all of you. There is something wonderful about being connected online and having the opportunity of being part of this no matter where we are. And it almost felt like I had already been in this room before, simply from being online here. But then I also realized that I had no idea about what was behind any of these doors. Right? It's like, oh, this is the kitchen. Oh, this is the bathroom. This is the entrance. Oh, and the interview's out there. Because before I'd only seen, people walking around, and I had no idea where they were going. So that's where. So it's very touching and moving for me to be here in person with all of you, and to feel supported by all of your practice. So the case I thought I will talk a little bit about is case 76 from the Book of Serenity, and it's called Shoushan's 3 Phrases. Here's the case. Attention. I love that. It's like, this is not a leisurely introduction, this is attention. Shoushan addressed the assembly saying, when you are awakened by the first phrase, you become a teacher of Buddhas and ancestors. When you are awakened by the second phrase, you become a teacher of humans and devas. When you are awakened by the third phrase, you can't even save yourself. A monk asked, Osho, by which phrase did you get awakened? Shoushan said, after the moon sets, midnight, going through the marketplace. So there's a verse, but I'll go through the verse in bits and details as we go through the case. So Shoushan addressed the assembly and said, when you are awakened by the first phrase, you become a teacher of Buddhas and ancestors. So what's this first phrase? So these phrases go back to Hyakujo or Obaku. And the first phrase is, in one way of saying it, produce a good mind. Or be in touch with immediate mirror awareness. And this is pretty much what we've been doing all morning. We cultivate turning the light inward, studying the self, and being aware what arises and what is present moment after moment after moment after moment. And I wonder, what did you notice this morning? What did you notice 10 minutes ago? What did you notice 15 minutes ago? Because it may have been more than one thing that you observed your mind doing while you were sitting. So zazen, the ground, turning the light inward and being awake to what is present in our body, in my mind, in the environment, my opinions, my thoughts, my concerns, my plans, my rehashing conversations that I had a long time ago, my planning what to say in this particular talk, in what particular order. That's all present. And what is our practice? Our practice is to notice, acknowledge, and return to the simplicity of this moment. And when you're awakened by the first phrase, you become a teacher of Buddhas and ancestors. Part of me also feels like, oh, being a teacher of Buddhas and ancestors, I can put that on my business card. But then being a teacher for Buddhas or ancestors, what would there be to teach? When you're awakened by the second phrase, you become a teacher of humans and devas. So, full disclosure, I think liturgy is a wonderful place to take our experience that we had on the cushion and take it into a small way and carefully organized way into community, into a way of listening, into a way of ringing a bell, into making a bok, in a way carrying the sutra books around and relating to everybody in the room in some way, shape or form. In a way to consciously become part of the net that actually holds all of us all the time. And in liturgy, it's just a particular few jewels are picked out and put in relationship with a few other particular jewels. So the second phrase is, the good mind is forgotten. So in liturgy, if I'm still like in my total samadhi, I will miss my cues. Anybody notice? Yeah, it sounds like, right? And there's a I don't know, maybe I told the story before, but I was on retreat and it was just a perfect summer retreat and I had an interview that went just so and the body and the mind had sort of let go of all the, you know. And it was I think we had just had dinner in the evening and there was a breeze outside and the sound of the leaves and the trees was just so, and there was a hammock right there and I just lay down in the hammock and, you know, really appreciated the sound of the wind in the leaves. It's like, And then Hote came up. I don't know if some of you remember Hote. Yes. She was the kitchen crew leader. And she came over to the hammock and said, aren't you on kitchen crew? You know, if the samadhi is swinging in the hammock, you know, it cannot clean the dishes from dinner. And Hote was very fierce often. A lot of energy, a lot of, I don't know, clarity and grumbling and directness and a great loving character. For some reason, I was never sort of at the receiving end of that, and she seemed more puzzled than angry or upset. It's like, oh yeah, I'm on the kitchen crew. So I got up out of the hammock and I went into the kitchen and I did whatever needed to be done. So the good mind forgotten, so that we can roll up our sleeves, you know, and do what is showing up in front of us and what we need to take care of. What is ours to take care of in this moment, in this world. While this mirror awareness is beautiful and wonderful and important, we cannot dwell in it all the time because we can't function. So when you're awakened by the second phrase, you become a teacher of humans and devas. This is, as it goes in the Gate of Sweet Nectar, this is our life. This is our life. And we need to become active, and we want to become active, and we want to be connected, and we want to be in communication with the world and the people around us, and respond. So is being a teacher of humans and devas better than being a teacher of Buddhas and ancestors? Is it worse? Is it different? What is it? What does it mean to be awakened by the first phrase? You pat yourself on the back and say, oh, yes, I woke up during the first phrase. The first phrase is better than the second phrase. But is this first phrase really better than the second phrase? And then I love the third one. It's like I'm a mathematician, so my mind always looks for patterns and predicting what is going to happen next. It's like, I wonder what's going to happen with that third phrase. And when you awaken by the third phrase, you can't even save yourself. Put that on your business card. You can't even save yourself. It's like, oh. So the third phrase in Hyakujo's formulation is only the final good is realized. How is only the final good realized? Well, if I am there and I'm thinking carefully about what would be the final good, and I have clear opinions about what the final good would be, and here is exactly what should happen, then what comes out of that may actually not turn out to be the final good. I also can't dwell in not dwelling. I can't say, oh, I must always be engaged and not take time to settle down. And stop and take a look, check in with myself, check in with the world, and see, is what I'm doing because of me, myself and mine, or is it only realizing the final good? When you're awakened by the third phrase, you can't even save yourself. Because who is that self? Is there a self? When we're in activity, when we're in relationship, when we're in liturgy, and can we feel the net holding us? Because it was beautiful also today during liturgy, because nothing goes as planned, right? I mean, some things go as planned, but not everything goes according to plan every single time, right? And in a way, that's the beauty of it. And it's ultimately whatever needed to happen did show up, right? There is a net that can hold all of us, even when for the moment it's like, ooh, I don't know exactly what's happening here, or I'm too fast, or I'm too slow, or I rang this bell, but maybe I should have rang that bell, right? It's like the net holds us and brings us all back together. When you're awakened by the third phrase, you can't even save yourself. We can't actually save ourselves all by ourselves. So the teacher gives the great teaching of these 3 lines, and of course there's a monk in the hall, and I love the monk. I can totally relate to the monk. It's like, Osho, by which phrase were you awakened? Right? Did it take you 3 phrases and you still can't even save yourself? Or did you awaken by the first phrase and now you're teaching Buddha's an ancestor, and what does that mean for you to be the teacher in our Sangha over here? Or did you awaken by the second phrase because it looks like right now here in the Zendo you're teaching Buddhas, you're teaching humans and devas. And, and I notice the mind in myself that sort of says, oh, high, medium, low, and where I have opinions about what that should be. And also have lots of opinions about this one, The voice that talks to myself in here is also has very strong opinions about what I should and shouldn't be doing, and how that should have gone, and what I should have done differently, and why this is terrible, that, Speaking for myself, I'm probably the only one who's ever encountered any of those energies before. Osho, by which phrase were you awakened? It's like the voice that says, ooh, you must try to be awakened by the first voice. And Shoushan responds. And Shoushan says, after the moon sets midnight, going through the marketplace, after the moon sets, we stop and we sit and we turn the light inward. And we see the darkness and the light, and we are the darkness and the light. Midnight, at the edge, what shifts in the middle of the night when everything is dark? And then going through the marketplace, rolling up our sleeves, getting to work, getting out of the way, and letting the work be done through us, serving in whatever way we're called to do, in whatever ways we're able to do, using whatever tools we have at our hands in that moment. And these days, the three phrases for me can also look like in the morning when I open the newspaper, can that also be a moment of being present with myself, with the impact on myself, with the anguish about what is happening in the world, with energy that wants to serve, the mind that has particular ideas about what that is supposed to look like. And to give myself the space to really check in and feel and experience what is really calling, what I'm called to do, and what is a way to serve. To be in connection, to speak from clarity, and a heart that actually includes everyone, that realizes that this net is not just our particular net, but that that net is large and includes things that, even things that I don't like and that I don't want and that I think shouldn't be here. And yet being fully aware of that big net also to say what from my position needs to be said, to do what from my position needs to be done. So there's an interesting idea behind the monk's question. There's somehow the idea at, oh, this awakening, this happens once under very particular kinds of circumstances. And you can clearly identify and put your fingers on it. And once that happened, everything is going to be completely different. But awakening has happened, and there's a before and there's an after. I wonder what your experience of that is, sitting on your cushion this morning, today. Is there one particular moment that's one particular kind? Or is it really, now it's like this? A moment of clarity and just seeing like in a mirror what has actually happened and what is present. And then maybe there's a different moment where we're called to do something. It's like, oh, we will need the mokugyo over here at some point, but the person who would move the mokugyo can't move the mokugyo because they're ringing the bell. Well, you know, we notice, maybe we do something, maybe it's not our job, and we say, oh, this is not my lane, somebody else's job. You know, it may look very different. I don't know what it will look like. But you might know. And in the process, we may serve in ways that we're not even aware of. Bring some water to the speaker. We ring a bell. we point to someone who's walking him along a line that is going to have them end up lost in the middle of the room at some point. One phrase, and another phrase, and another phrase, and another phrase, and another moment, and another moment. So I think an important question is, how about you? What is present for you? What is available to you? What are you called to do? And in what ways do you become active and engaged? Thank you. Be well.